Oh, shoot that thing. Well, just shoot up here amongst us because one of us needs a little relief. 3 weeks in a row, I've watched WWE programming. Somebody put one of us out of our misery. No, today, folks, love is in the air, and it's also returning to the WWE. I have watched SmackDown, and we will layeth the SmackDown off on SmackDown, but I will also tell you how they could have made $1 million with Ricochet. And there's going to be a big announcement about the West Virginia Midnight Express event in April. Joining us on the program to talk about that today is our legal analyst, Stephen P. New. All that and so much more. Oh, we got such a big show. And to help me in this and sort all this stuff out, he's very phlegmy. He may not laugh a lot today because he's phlegmy. So he's going to be a dead audience for me. But he's your co-host and mine, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you, Swammy's Pappy, the post office playboy, the proprietor of the French Toast Chateau, and the next television spokesperson for Mucinex, the great Brian Last.
Aloha, Jim. I actually just took the Mucinex about 20 minutes ago, so very good call there. I have to ask you, though, a little question. Do you know what the only thing worse than watching WWE broadcasting is?
That talking about it?
Listening to it. Listening to those commentators. Oh, my God. Just makes you want to stick an ice pick right into your ear.
You know, actually, I realized about halfway through the show that people were talking at me, but I hadn't really been paying any attention to them, and I tried not to. But you know, as an announcer myself, as a commentator, you know, Boyd Pierce used to say that this Idaho Spud, it was a prize-winning Idaho Spud, met this little lady Spud, and the lady Spud brought I'm trying to remember how he told it now. Maybe it's not a good idea. The lady Spud brought this prize-winning Spud home to meet her parents, and they thought for some reason that she should marry that prize-winning Idaho Spud. And she said, no, she wanted to marry Boyd Pierce. And they said, but why? He's just a commentator. But see, it was so hilarious when Boyd Pierce told it. But anyway, where was I going with that?
Lord knows.
What a program we've got today, folks. No, the commentators. They got nothing to work with. We're going to talk about that. There's nothing to talk about except the talking points that they're force-fed that don't apply to what's going on in front of them. But anyway, I'm thinking the answer to the prayers have come, and the Savior will soon arrive, ladies and gentlemen. Bruce Pritchard, my old buddy, my old friend, lifelong pal. Where's Gene when you need him? Is entering the WWE again, returning to the WWE, high up in creative. And everybody on Twitter, we got to start the program with this because everybody on Twitter was asking, they were taking leaps of faith is what they were doing. And because I wanted to address this because I don't want people to go off on these benders. Because as soon as it was announced, Bruce Pritchard going back, big job in WWE creative. All over Twitter is like, does this mean is he going to bring Jim Cornette back? Is Eric Bischoff coming with him as the podcast crew? What about, will he be able to get Paul Heyman Hustle and Jim Cornette together to ride? Just like, pulling all this shit out of their ass, right? Because it was somewhat of an astonishing revelation that Bruce would be going back after all this time. So I guess the people just thought that anything's fucking possible. But anything is not possible. And especially many of the scenarios that they were mentioning. So no, I'm not going. I bet you. I don't know. Heyman's already there, but I don't.
He's not in creative, but Bruce is in creative. Think about that.
Well, but here's what I was going to say. Second only to that, supposing that somehow we were going to, reunite all these people again from the 90s. Everybody said, well, what do you think? I'm not going to knock Bruce as far as being on the creative team because he's been there before. I am astonished that he took the job. I'm more astonished that he wants the job and has the energy he believes and the patience for the job and the strong enough heart and internal organs and fucking nervous condition for the job at this point in his life, because I wouldn't touch that with $1 million fucking dollars to work next to Vince on a daily basis. We did that when everybody was younger, and it still drove me almost insane out of my fucking mind. So I was astonished that I admire, Heyman's energy that he has, even looking as he does like Alfred Hitchcock these days, that he wants to fly around the country every fucking week and do these shows and those long days. But it's the creative team is even worse, because it's at, maybe maybe he's slowing down and he doesn't have as the beck and call times that he used to. But if he still doesn't sleep like a human being, it's like you're a fireman, you're on call 24 hours a day. But so I can't imagine at this point in my life, and all these people are almost as old as I am. I can't imagine doing this. However, I know why. If Vince, as everybody's been saying, is, well, okay, we're going to shake things up, and they just bring the NXT guys up out of nowhere, and it just, whatever the fuck they're doing, for whatever reason that they're doing it, knowing all the participants involved, I know exactly why, because I guarantee you that Vince, I went through something similar when Vince got pissed at everybody that was around him in 1997. That's how Shitstain was born. I'm not equating or conflating Bruce Pritchard with Shitstain. I'm just saying, when Vince gets grumpy, Vince starts getting ideas. And sometimes Vince gets an idea that you ain't going to shake him out of. And I'm not knocking Bruce in this. I'm not saying he was a bad idea. I'm saying Vince got the idea, and I can hear him in his head I can hear him saying it out loud in the room. Vince McMahon got the idea. Y'all just don't get it. Y'all do not get it. You're not getting it. You don't get it. Do you know what it is, Brian?
What is it?
It is what Vince wants.
I know a guy who will say yes to everything Vince wants.
No. I'm not saying it's a say yes. Listen to me. We're going to go deeper than that. Now, see, you're playing checkers and I'm playing chess here. It's not just say yes, Vince, you're right. It is what Vince, and we used to joke about this 20 years ago, even in creative meetings or even in whatever, we joke about it in front of him. He would send some things out by mental telepathy. And if you didn't pick him up, it was your fault. It was like you obviously knew how he wanted to portray this guy or what he wanted that shot to look like. Or when you come back with something that's different and he looks at you and he goes, what the fuck? You didn't get this? You didn't get it. It is what Vince wants. It is Vince's vision. It is Vince's style. It is Vince's thought process. It is what Vince wants. He knows Bruce gets it because Bruce spent years learning what it was. And Bruce Pritchard, probably more than any human on the planet that would care to take this fucking job, and I would think maybe even then, knows what it is and can convey it to other people so that Vince doesn't have to specifically spend all his time sending it out by mental telepathy. He'll just send it to Bruce, and Bruce will actually probably pick up on it, and then Bruce will fucking tell everybody else what it is, which is what Vince wants in any given situation. That's exactly, and that's why that they're going to be working very closely together. Because Bruce not only knows what it is, but can convey it to other people without just standing there looking at them fucking dumbfounded with a shit-sniffing look when they come back with something else that you didn't send them by mental telepathy.
And it and the people relaying it is a really big part of the reason why so many wrestlers are actively trying to get out of that company right now. Trying to get their releases, hoping that they get fired, and hoping they can either go on to the indies or work somewhere else because they do not believe in it and do not think it is anything other than an old man's whim, a man who perhaps needs to take a nap for the first time.
Now, you notice I did not endorse it or say it was good or bad or have an opinion on it. I just explained what it was and who would be able to convey it.
And Bruce Pritchard will put the shh in it.
No, we shouldn't mock. We should wish him good luck.
Yes.
Because he's almost my age and he weighs considerably more than I do. And that's a lot of stress. And once again, I'm gobsmacked. And we're going to offer some fucking friendly criticism on the program today, and I'm going to actually give them an idea. Of course, it's too late. They should already done it, but it's not but I no, I can't imagine. Here's the one thing that surprises me is that this is why I would not want to do something like this. You spend time building up a podcast, building up a website, establishing yourself at appearances and etc., which is what I've done. I wouldn't stop doing this now just to go back and be obsessive about something for someone else. And then if that doesn't work out, then I've stopped doing all my stuff, which is why I visit people and places, as I've said, but I'm not going back to live anywhere.
Well, again, different people, different dreams. Your dream is to be able to do your own thing, control your destiny. Bruce's dream has been to go back there and be Vince's yes man again. That is all he has wanted to do when he was at Impact, when he was with MLW. He just wants to go back there and be right next to Vince. That's the only thing he wants, is daddy's love. That's it.
Oh, now come on now.
You know I'm telling the truth.
You're being the contrarian broadcaster here. You're being the heel guy. Hey, Jesse.
I just tell the truth.
Brian the Body Last. Let me tell you something.
Bruce Pritchard works for MI5. Now that's what Jesse would say. I'm just saying the truth.
Well, I'll tell you a real Mission Impossible. That's getting a hold of any action figures involving Jim Cornette because they're sold out. Here's another impossible mission. Any Double the Rumble DVDs because they're sold out. Here's another impossible mission. Midnight Express American Cancer Society pictures because they're sold out. Thanks to the great people in the cult of Cornette and jacked up Jeremy Bagley, who's now jacking at Jeremy Bagley on a street corner because that's all he's got left to play with since he's broke is Pete in hand. Because he's had to donate and pony up a bunch of money to the American Cancer Society. But that's the update from last week, is all those things we told you were almost sold out are sold out. However, there are not only still plenty of T-shirts and burger towels and books and various items and other DVDs, including Wrestling Gold, still available, but also tell you what I'm going to do. Remember Friendly Freddy on Gomer Pyle when he'd sell him the off-brand fur coat? You don't remember that. You didn't grow up in the 60s when it was fun to be a child and watch television.
No, but there was a guy that used to sell stuff like that to Ernie on Sesame Street, so I know what you're talking about.
Oh, for heaven's sake. It was real when it was Friendly Freddy, and actually it was character actor Sid Melton on the Gomer Pyle show. But anyway, tell you what I'm going to do, just because I like you. The Double the Rumble was a 2-disc set that contained the entire Smoky Mountain Wrestling Night of Legends event with all the inductions of the legends and the packages and the whole 9 yards. And then it was before they were famous, which was 2 hours of Smoky Mountain Wrestling matches with guys who later on achieved fame on bigger television, and anywhere from Chris Candido to Kane to Al Snow to Storm and Jericho and on and on. That was a 2-disc set. Those sold out. But as part of the warehouse find, I have a limited number of those individual DVDs. You can still get the Night of Legends. You can still get Before They Were Famous, but they are on individual DVDs. But the Night of Legends alone, nearly 4 hours of action. And one of the most critically acclaimed modern wrestling programs from any territory. You can still get those. Of course, they are double the price since the 2-disc set was for $9. Each of these is $9. But that just shows you that you should have listened to me. Everybody whines and cries when they keep writing me, are you sold out of the Midnight Express books? I'll pay anything. Well, they were on sale, and I told you they were selling out years ago, and they were $25 then. Now they're $250. Don't blame me. I tried to warn you. I create collector's items. When these things sell out and people email me, are you going to get any more? No, I told you they were gone. So while Night of Legends and Before They Were Famous remain at $9 each, I can't lower the price anymore because I'm getting prison raped to begin with, right? So $9 a piece while they last, and there are not as many of them as there were of Double the Rumble. These are some stragglers we've got available now. But all that and more at JimCornette.com. I hate it when people blame me when they miss out on these things, and then they have to go on the internet and find them and pay multiples of the price.
Does that happen often? People blame you?
Well, it seems like I'm being blamed, and I don't need to be blamed for anything more than what I actually do, and I've tried to give people fair warning.
That's right. There's plenty to blame him for.
Yes.
Don't lay that on them.
I'll tell you what you can blame me for. You can blame me for the most fun you will ever have in one night and get grease on your face at the same time. Is that a tagline we should use? Maybe we'll rethink that and revisit it at a later date. But have a beef with Jim Cornette in Chicago at C2E2. March 22nd through 24th is the big C2E2 convention, fan fest, pop culture extravaganza in Chicago at McCormick Place. But on March 23rd, Saturday night, we're going to have a beef with Jim Cornette. That's right, at all VIP session, and tickets are going fast, and everybody's a VIP, so space is limited. A stand-up meltdown, Chicago wrestling stories, interactive Q&A, some hangout time, a signed 8x10, a free photo op, and a Chicago Italian beef sandwich, all for $65. Spend your evening. And there is no time limit, by the way. Last fan standing remaining on this. Spend your evening with me and have a beef with Jim Cornette at C2E2. It will be my only Midwest appearance of 2019. We figured that out because I've had some things come up and my calendar is filling quickly. So if you want to meet me and you're in Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, all those type of things, this is pretty much the only chance I'm going to have to get up there. Real quickly, and you can go to jimcornette.com and click on events, and you can get the information on all these. But April 27th, we already know I'll be at the Crockett Cup in Concord, North Carolina, not only to handle the color on the live broadcast on Fight TV and around the world on the internet, but also to be a part of the VIP meet and greet earlier that day with the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, Magnum TA, Nikita Koloff, the legends of the Crockett Cup during the day, and then the new young stallion teams that night. May 18th in Richmond, Virginia. Not only will I be part of the two-man Power Trip Con 3 podcast Con. It's the two-man Power Trip podcast, and they're having the two-man Power Trip convention. TMPT Con 3. They've done it twice before. They're finally going to get it right this time. In Richmond on May 18th at the Holiday Inn. I'm going to be there with the Midnight Express, part of the 35th anniversary reunion tour. And then we're doing a VIP cuisine in Richmond, TBD, but we're doing a VIP get-together afterwards. I'm going to be at Knoxville's Fanboy Expo, July 22nd through 24th with the Cornette's Collectibles booth. And the 23rd, Saturday only, is the Midnight Express 35th Reunion Day. And, of course, coming up back in Charlotte for the Gathering this August. And the fine folks at T-Mart Promotions, and something else that folks will probably know about soon, but we can't speak on now because it hasn't happened yet, and it's going to be a surprise. That's pretty much, and there's one more live event date that ties into our guest for today. So should we go to that piece of business now, Mr. Last, and talk about Madison, West Virginia with our legal analyst?
I have the esteemed Stephen P. New on standby, so we're ready anytime you want, Jim.
Well, folks, we're going to do a special segment here and bring him in. He is our legal analyst here at The Experience and also the fine sponsor of the drive-thru. But more importantly, he is going to be there on Saturday, April 13th in Madison, West Virginia at the Madison Civic Center for All-Star Wrestling, when, among other things that are going to take place that night, the Midnight Express, myself, Bobby Eaton, Dennis Condrey, and Stan Lane are going to be inducted into the All-Star Wrestling Hall of Fame. Plus, and we're going to be doing a meet and greet there that night. There's a big wrestling card of action there, and among the matches is also a Smoky Mountain Wrestling Legends match, because we're still over in that part of the country, folks. They still remember the good wrestling. It's going to be fantastic. Bobby Fulton taking on the wild-eyed Southern boy Tracy Smothers, and Brian Logan, who later on achieved greater fame as Damien from the Disciples of Sin and wrestled in Puerto Rico and around the world. But he was trained in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and he's a native West Virginian. He's going to be the referee. But now, as I've made that long-winded introduction, joining me to add to this with a special announcement is none other than from the law offices of Stephen P. New. Stephen P. New. Stephen, how are you? Thank you very much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome, Jim. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be on with you and Brian today.
I got all the way into the commercial, and I almost forgot to introduce you. But the point is, you have just laid some news on us. We've been talking about that you're going to be there because you're a native West Virginian and a big wrestling fan and fan of All-Star Wrestling. But you just told us before we started the program that you're going to have a special announcement, kind of a special presentation to make that night involving the Smoky Mountain Legends match.
Yes, Jim, the local elected officials there love what Gary does in Boone County at the Madison Civic Center, and so much so that night there is going to be a proclamation issued by the state of West Virginia that thanks Bobby Fulton, Tracy Smothers, and Brian Logan for their contributions to the professional wrestling industry. And I'm so happy to announce that me and some of the elected officials there in Boone County are going to be making this proclamation to those three fantastic professional wrestlers.
So this is an official deal, right? This is not just as they say nowadays in the rest. This is not just sports entertainment talk. This is official.
This is absolutely official. And Delegate Rodney Miller, who is a delegate from Boone County, is a big fan. He is there every time that Gary runs a show at the Madison Civic Center with All-Star Wrestling and lots of other elected officials. Rodney happens to be a former elected sheriff of Boone County, and he's on board with this and loves the idea of the state of West Virginia recognizing these three wrestlers. And I couldn't be more excited to be doing this proclamation that night with you all, Jim.
Well, I got to say that, first of all, by the way, let Rodney know I'm on y'all's side. There's no reason for him to run a background check or anything like that. I'm just going to slip in and slip out of town as I usually do, and nobody will get hurt. But you know, this brings something up, and I you know, it may be off topic, but I think another thing that wrestling has lost since the territory days was the fact that in a lot of these smaller communities and the smaller markets, a live wrestling event, especially one that was there regularly, especially one that brought in stars from the television show that aired in the region, or even that the folks had seen on the covers of the wrestling magazines, that was a boon, no pun intended, but to the economy of the local area. Because let's face it, there are not a lot of live entertainment events where they charge admission in Madison, West Virginia. But Gary Dameron is there a number of times a year, and so people come in, they come from a surrounding area, they may eat in some of the fast food restaurants, or they'll get gas at the gas station, and it's something that brings people into town. And in the territory days, that was quite prevalent with the, you know, you got a chance to see the TV stars for $5 or whatever, and everybody came from quite a ways around to the smaller areas.
And that's exactly what still goes on here. And Jim, you know, you've been to All-Star Wrestling a number of times. And I know that you have talked about what a quality promoter Gary Dameron is with All-Star Wrestling. And he truly does it the right way. And just like with your show, that's the only reason why I'd be involved in it, is that Gary is an above-board promoter. But to your point, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we had some WWE Hall of Famers in and some other guys that you see on Impact or Ring of Honor. And, you know, we're drawing crowds of upwards of 300, 350. Last year, you know, we hit 400, 450 folks in a small town like Madison, West Virginia, where other people are coming there. And, Jim, West Virginia is a unique state. You're one state over from us. We don't have any pro sports teams. You know, WVU plays up in Morgantown and Marshall plays over in Huntington, but outside of high school football or basketball, you're not going to see a live sporting event in a place like Madison or in a place like Logan or in a place like Gilbert. And, you know, growing up, that's what attracted me, was that I could go to Logan, West Virginia and watch Georgia Championship Wrestling, or I could go to Huntington
at the Field House,
Great American Bash. That's exactly right. The Field House. Not far from where Buzz Sawyer beat up the guy and left him in the phone booth.
And hey, but I'll tell you what, and I want to thank you, by the way, on behalf of the West Virginia wrestling fans, because if it wasn't guys like you that help support the local promotions like All-Star Wrestling, the folks there wouldn't be able to see a lot of those big names, because as you said, Gary's brought a lot of names in, and it's a smaller community. So when and by the way, we're going for 500. We're going to have 500 pounds. I was there.
Exactly right.
I was there with Midnight Express a few years ago. We had 500. You're bringing out the big guns. But anyway, But thanks to sponsorships with you guys and the local community where everybody shares in the effort, it's an opportunity for everybody to prosper. And as a matter of fact, that's April 13th, folks. Get your tickets early, as they say. And that's the Midnight Express Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the Smoky Mountain Legends match, an entire card of action that night on April 13th. But we're jumping ahead because this weekend, right there in Madison, is another all-star wrestling event. And I know you're going to be there and be able to announce this to the live crowd about the presentation coming up in April.
Yes. This weekend, March 2nd, we're having the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis take on the Neon Ninja Facade from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Facade is an absolutely fantastic wrestler. He's been on some of the undercards in Impact and Ring of Honor. He gets all over the eastern part of the seaboard. And I'm telling you, Nick Aldis will have his hands full. I watched a young man wrestle just last month. And he has a high-flying style. And it's going to be a fantastic weekend of wrestling in Madison this weekend as well. Stacked card top to bottom. We've even got a midget wrestling match from years gone by. It's been ages since I've seen a midget wrestling match.
Wait a minute, and, you got a big midget match on the card? That's fantastic.
Got a big midget match on the card this weekend in Madison, Jim. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, good God. That was a Lance Russell pitch. Right after, I believe it was, they had dumped a bucket of yellow paint over General Homer Odell's head on live Memphis television, and Lance was trying not to get any on him and Dave as they pitched a break. He said, well, we'll be right back, folks. We got a big midget match coming up. But right now, hey, Stephen, we're looking forward to seeing you. And by the way, as we mention every week on the drive-thru, if anyone out there is a member of the downtrodden class that have been taken advantage of in some way by one of these major corporations or giant conglomerates, the man to call is Stephen P. New, because he can bring the hammer of justice and retribution down. Stephen, I don't want to make you blush. Sometimes I make people blush with my effusive praise, but you're the man, and newlawoffice.com is the place to go if you're in trouble.
I'm unembarrassable like you, Jim. I am unembarrassable.
You are morally bankrupt. You're an attorney here in Louisville once described himself that way. He said, I am morally bankrupt. You're a guy with plenty of morals, but you got cojones as big as all outdoors. That's what it is.
That's exactly right. A guy asked me once on TV, what would you do if you won the lottery? I said, by God, I will practice law until every penny is gone. So the consigliere of the cult of Cornette, the king of torts, Stephen P. New. Jim, I'm so glad to be with you today.
Hey, you should just start promoting wrestling. You could lose it twice as quick and get it over with. All right, Stephen, we're gonna have you back on in the future to talk about the big event in Madison and a whole bunch of other things. But thank you for being here. Go back to court.
Yes, sir.
Well, there it is, Jim. Sounds like it's going to be an interesting night in West Virginia in April.
It's going to be fun. So much fun, you'll have to wipe the smile off your face with a fucking sandblaster. As I understand now, the people are having to do because of the art that Travis Bickle is perpetrating for the thumbnails on our brand new official YouTube channel. It's taken the world by storm. And the artwork looks great on the clips.
Did you see the latest one?
I don't know which. You can't need to narrow it down. He does like fucking 5 a week or whatever.
Paul Heyman?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. And I'm in the shower with yes. Heyman is you got to see it for yourself, folks. So how do they go to the official YouTube channel?
A couple of ways. You can, of course, go to YouTube and just search for Jim Cornette. It'll be the first thing that pops up, the official Jim Cornette channel, or an easy link to get there, tinyurl.com/official Corny YouTube. Thank you to everyone. We've had so many new subscribers, and we have a lot of video projects we're going to be debuting over the next several months. So it's a great time to subscribe right now.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, YouTube. Now you're finally running our advertising again. So we're not treating this as just a goddamn time-consuming hobby anymore. So thank all you pricks. Took you long enough. Tomorrow clip. Anyway, and before we talk about the cord that should be cut on whatever fucking television that's connected to Smackdown, what are you doing on your programs? What have you got that work release thing figured out yet this week where you can record?
Almost, but we're getting there. We're making progress. But a few notes about what's going on this week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Ron Fuller Studcast for patrons. We have the rest of the story where Ron, for over an hour, will answer your questions about the Knoxville Wrestling War of 1979, about the Plan B video that Bob Roop and his compatriots released to attempt to extort the local wrestling promoters, and of course continue their.
Well, now wait, they didn't release it.
Well, they sent it to wrestling promoters. Excuse me.
They didn't release it to the public. They sent it to the promoter because this took Twitter by storm, and I was insane watching it. And then everybody on Twitter was talking about it, but everybody was. They were asking, well, what was everybody's response to this? Because I don't think they don't get the story that this didn't actually go out. It was part of the extortion plot for the promoters to keep it from going out. Because if this had gone out, and everybody's got to fucking see this thing, if it had gone out, there would be no Randy Orton in professional wrestling. If it had gone out, think of all the Ronnie Garvin would have never been the NWA World Champion. All those things would have happened. It's amazing just from this one fucking in the middle of the night video. A lot of shit went on.
Well, hear everything Ron has to say, and of course that's for patrons of the Studcast for only $2.99 at patreon.com/Studcast, and we encourage you to also check out the regular Studcast. We are now diving into 1974. Ron buys Knoxville, and it's all about how he turns that town into a territory. So check that out. I also want to make mention of Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam and Sean Goodwin. Jeff Baldwin is on the show this week, and they go in depth on the Chi-Town Rumble, one of the great, I'd say one of the great pay-per-views, or at least one of the great pay-per-view matches of all time, I guess.
Well, thank you very much. I thought that I did a great job in that 6-man tag that night.
You think it's a good pay-per-view?
Oh, well, see, now you took a left turn on me. I was just making a smart-ass joke. Actually, Chi-Town Rumble? Yeah. It was a tale of two shows, I thought. There was some sensational and some but compared to grading from today, it was fucking classic.
Well, hear in-depth analysis as well as some put-downs of George Scott at McAdamPod.com or wherever it is that you find your favorite podcast. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, the Mothership. I was actually beginning to miss your Sonic Blast that you haven't done in several weeks. So thank you for incorporating a part of that into the plug right there.
I tried to give everybody a little something.
We mentioned it last time due to my illness. It took a little while extra to edit it, but it's just about to come out on this episode, In the News with Jim Cornette, and this is a really fun version of In the News. The Top 10, Pandemonium Theater, John Arezzi on Pedro Morales in the Garden, and Kevin Sullivan speaking about Bob Roop and everything he tried to pull in San Francisco as well as Knoxville. Kevin has a very interesting take on all of this, and he was there for all of it, and we also get to hear Kevin and
everything he tried to pull also. That describes it well. Old Droopy Roop was just, but there, go ahead.
Well, you could also hear what Kevin thinks about the extortion plot, about the fact that this was sent to Jim Barnett, and what he says he thinks happened because of that. Hear more at 605pod.com or available wherever it is that you find your favorite podcast, The Mothership. And I just want to remind everyone, 605 Super Podcast t-shirts as well as Mothership t-shirts are available at the official online store, tinyurl.com/superpodstore.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Tell you what I'm going to do. Over the last couple weeks, and it's got a big response from folks who many commiserated with me, and many said, we couldn't figure out a way to articulate a lot of these things, but that's the way we feel or whatever. But I'd watched Raw the first time by accident, second time on purpose, and I said I wasn't going to do that again, and I don't want to beat a dead horse every week. But then everybody said, well, SmackDown's a better show, and you ought to watch SmackDown. So, okay, 1 week to be fair, I'll watch SmackDown, and then we'll finish up this trilogy, right?
Well, hold on, Jim. I do have to make mention of something. We've heard from a lot of listeners who have said, how could Jim watch 2 weeks of Raw? They finally do an episode that's better, and he doesn't watch. Did you hear this as well?
Well, yeah, and that's where people go firing off their yaps because I watched Raw and didn't do notes on it, but I watched it. You want to know why I watched it?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see what they would do for Ric Flair's birthday party. Oh. You want to know why I ain't going to watch it anymore? Because I saw what they did for Ric Flair's birthday party. I watched Raw, I thought Roman Reigns, and this can be short, Roman Reigns did a great job. He did a great interview. You couldn't do anything else in that. I was glad nobody came out and jumped and beat him up or whatever. I was also glad to see him get in the ring and show he could do all his shit. That was perfect. And he and Seth Rollins standing there trying to build some stars there. The girls' brawl was great. I don't mean to say it dismissively, like, yeah, when the girls had a brawl, but no, the fucking brawl with Becky and Ronda, the same usual suspects as we'd mentioned, but they had oomph to them, and they were crazy, and they were over the top and fucking, passion, right? The Revival gets beat again. They win the World Tag Team titles and do 2 jobs 2 weeks in a row on television. Am I missing something?
No, they just don't know how to manage a tag team division or use the best tag team in wrestling in a generation properly. It's a shame. It's a real shame.
But I mean, it's just a rib at this point. And anyway, and finally, the Ric Flair birthday. And when they were getting that close to the top of the hour, I said, well, this is not going to be much of a fucking celebration, right? I figured somebody might get their face in a cake, but it's Atlanta. They have come there thinking they're going to see, and this is another thing, a problem with their live events. People came there, whether they bought the tickets or not, before or after they knew they were going to do Ric Flair's birthday party. They came there expecting, because of the announcements, they would see Ric Flair's birthday party. Flair never even got into the fucking arena. He never appeared in front of the fucking people. All that fucking yak, all the build up, all the gas, everything, boom. If you wanted to have, and I understand Batista can't come to the ring and fucking Batista bomb Flair after I'm sure Rick would want to take it, but after his health issues, but that was the flattest popcorn fart of a fucking ending. And Batista didn't appear in front of the fucking people live. They wonder why their live crowds fucking have no reaction and why they're not selling more tickets, because that's a shitty live show when you come there to see shit. And whether it be being directed to watch television on a fucking big screen when you paid to see a live event, or have a bunch of people in the ring talking to you about something that's going to go on some other fucking time endlessly, or you get something milked that you're going to see it, and it happens behind the fucking curtain or backstage or wherever. Not a very fucking live event friendly thing, but there had to be another way. There had to be another way that Batista could make some type of impression. And to be honest, did everybody recognize that it was Batista when he popped up on the screen? Because I didn't hear the fucking shocked goddamn, response from the crowd.
It sounded like it may have taken a second for people to gather who he was, but it was interesting that Ric Flair is getting assaulted. Everyone just stands there until Hunter could slowly run as slow as he can to the back.
But here's another thing. Why was he in a room all alone that he got drug out of when he's about to come out? They're playing his music. Where was his wife? They showed his wife with him. His wife went in the fucking ring. There was no production assistant. Are there no prisons, no workhouses? There was nobody around this fucking guy seconds before he's supposed to come out on national fucking television and all of his friends are being introduced. It does not make sense. That's what I'm there. Yes, I understand the concept, and I guarantee you they sold it to Vince on that, because he loves, we'll build it up. They're going to see Flair's birthday party, and then this evil heel will fucking pull the rug out from under him and spoil the party for everybody. No, but here's the thing. The people used to, you could have got away with that. But now the fans, especially in the arena, pretty much know that what happens is being dictated. It's another problem with everybody being smart. They know what happens is being dictated. So when something like that happens, it's not, well, that no good bastard heel stole this moment of enjoyment from me. It's, well, look what they fucking did. They being the promotion. They fucking jacked me around again. But no, there had to be another way that Batista could get Triple H's attention, is all I'm going to say. Without, fuck. Anyway, Smackdown. On Cornette's College of Wrestling Knowledge. We're going to try to get through this quickly because I do have something good I'd like to talk about. They came up cold on the air. Just cold on the air with no music, no graphics, no ID of anybody. Stephanie and Shane in the ring saying, welcome to SmackDown. So we got that much. But No lower third with everybody's names. Daniel Bryan is sitting at the desk with a big fucking fat guy with a beard. That's all I knew for quite some time.
That's because Eric Rowan. He used to be in Bray Wyatt's group.
Yeah, but as a new viewer, they're talking about they need to build new viewers. So I'm a new viewer. I haven't watched wrestling in quite some time. So I tune in, and here's what I'm seeing. And here's what I also see. I see Stephanie's dressed nicely, but Shane McMahon is dressed like he's goddamn taking his kids over to Baskin Robbins. The fat guy that's unnamed looks like a fucking slob. Just T-shirt and fucking old whatever the fuck. And Daniel Bryan is not exactly dressed up to be the WWE champion and has a belt that looks like it's made out of plywood.
It's made out of hemp. That's a gimmick. That's part of like his whole gimmick.
He must have been smoking it when he came up with that. But here's the deal. It just, there was no energy when they came up on the air. And I'm not saying they have to blow pyro off, but couldn't one of the hosts of the show, one of the announcers, be in there to, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in the ring with Shane and Stephanie McMahon and the WWE champion Daniel Bryan and his fucking big fat fucking sloppy looking friend. And that took 5 seconds. But they give Kofi Kingston a big buildup that he's going to be signing this contract to challenge Daniel Bryan. And on the videos, which they do great packages, they made Kofi Kingston look like a star. They made it look, okay, you know, he's done this stuff and he's done that stuff and all, he's so athletic and everything. Maybe we're going to give him a singles push now. Maybe we're going to, I'm thinking in my mind, they're going to bring him out. He's challenging for the world title. Well, here comes Kofi with the rest of the New Day doing they've got a fucking gimmick trombone and they're handing out pancakes and the whole thing. They built a star on the videos and they got some vaudeville outlaw mud show bullshit. And it's not these guys' fault. That's been their gimmick. But if they want to elevate a guy, which is at the time what I thought they wanted to do, instead of just shitting on him and replacing him, that would have been the time they could have brought him out with a serious fucking look, but differentiated him from the group. But when I see 3 matching goofy guys and one of them's going for the world title, he's not going to win it, right? His promo sucked. He ignored Daniel Bryan sitting there. He turned to the camera, to the hard camera, and talked to the people, not his opponent. He was happy and giggly, thanking the fans. So happy he's got this opportunity. So once again, here's another guy that's having his dream fulfilled. They're all teary-eyed that they've been, oh, you picked me to be on TV. It's like Queen for a fucking day. They're all so fucking happy. No, somebody needs to be out there going, hey, I'm the greatest fucking wrestler in the world, and I'm making this show go around. Anyway, then he got serious at the end, but his guys were still being goofy, and he said, and I'm going to beat you, and nobody believed that. And then suddenly Vince's music hits, and here comes Vince out on the stage, and he looks like his father. And I wrote that. He looks like his dad. He has finally aged. But anyway, he suddenly replaces Kofi Kingston with Kevin Owens for ratings and for, business, right? Because Kevin Owens is a big star, and of course, then the new guys have to, the New Day guys have to bitch, but they bitch too much, and they say the same thing over and over, where you can tell that they're trying to make sure that the camera hears it. But here comes Kevin Owens. He's lost weight, looks better physically, but he's wearing jeans and a no-sleeve T-shirt. That may be his gimmick. Although personally, what the fuck? But it may be everybody's gimmick that they look like slobs these days. But when you've got 2 guys going for the world title, and here's one guy's wearing the fucking sleeveless T-shirt, and he's not like he's got jacked up arms. He's just got big fucking fleshy, doughy arms with tattoos on them. And Daniel Bryan's sitting there wearing a fucking hoodie or whatever. It just. But anyway. Daniel Bryan never said a word the whole time, just sat there and stared at everybody and everything, and he's the one that got over. And he and Kevin Owens had a pretty good stare down. But otherwise than that, there you go. So come back in seg 2. Kevin Steen is with Shane and Stephanie backstage, and it was very polite. The McMahons didn't know about this and all this stuff, that Vince was going to come and do this. They were completely shocked. Did Kevin Owens leave a heel or a babyface before he had his knee surgeries. Do you know?
I actually don't remember. I thought he was a heel, but now you're making me question it.
Okay, well, because now he's just, I guess he's a baby face, but he's just, just politely and everything. I don't know what the fuck, where it's going. Hopefully he'll become a psychopath soon and we'll see that I don't know. Anyway, we go to Cesaro and Sheamus, and I can't get Shazamus. I love Cesaro. I can't get Sheamus's hair. But here come the Hardys, and they get a pop for the Hardys in Charlotte. And the people are into this. And so SmackDown is somewhat a better show so far. They do some nice tag team spots. The Hardys shine. They go to break, and now you can still see the match in the break while they're showing commercials in a little box, but with no audio. But it's just, now it's distracting. And now I don't know. I don't know about that. It's awkward. But anyway, they get the heat on Jeff through the break. But when they come back, even though they've been on all his action in the little box with no audio, when they come up, they still came up on a chin lock. Fucking hell. But they had a nice tag team match. Nothing wrong. Then they hit, and it hurt my heart for the Hardys to do this, simultaneous tags. Not even a hot tag with the Hardys. I think it's something that they instruct these guys to do. But the heels went for a double team. The Hardys foiled it, and the Jeff then hit. It wasn't a swanton. It was a swan tater. Some way or another, that brother was out about fucking 2 or 3 feet farther than I think Jeff wanted. And when he did that turn, he just landed back first on him. He couldn't get out quite far enough and turn. He just landed with all his weight on Rowan, who was identified. I think somebody said his name right before the match started. So anyway, and that got a huge pop because the Hardys won in Charlotte. They need a little more of that. That didn't hurt anybody, except the fucking guy got swanton. Then we go to the back, and there is Ricochet and Aleister Black. And I'm going to explain, if definitely on Ricochet, but also on Aleister Black, how they've shit the bed with these fucking guys. And these guys should sue them for fucking career assassination. They're talking. They're just talking to each other. They're not acknowledging the fucking camera. There's no interviewer. They're just kibitzing. Ricochet sounds like a nerd. And this blonde girl comes in who's not identified, but she reminds me of fucking Sable. She's so perfect. Everything, the fake tan, the hair, nothing's out of place, surgically enhanced everywhere, whatever the fuck. She's perfect and is like a goddamn Stepford wife. And they exchange a bunch of flowery, scripted, phony, fucking hokey banter back and forth.
While they all stand at awkward angles.
By
the way, that's Lana, and she is much hotter and more talented than Sable ever was.
Well, she didn't show it there. And then here we go to R-Truth's entrance with another girl that nobody bothers to fucking name, and they're singing What's Up. I worked with R-Truth in TNA in 2007. He was singing What's Up. I know I don't watch the program regularly, but I'm thinking for the people that do, he might need to get a new song by this time. But still they're singing What's Up, and they go to the break. They come back from the break. They announce Honky Tonk Man in the Hall of Fame. There you go. Represent the great state of Tennessee, Wayne.
Yeah, eat that, Jake.
God. But now, here's R-Truth in the ring with his girl, who I don't think anybody had named as of yet. And he does a promo. And now I'm trying to decide, okay, I thought he was a babyface because he's coming out, he's singing, he's dancing. But now he's doing a promo like a smarmy, obnoxious heel when he talks about John Cena being his hero. But he announces an open challenge like a heel would do. But then they start dancing. Then here comes music and another guy and girl come out. I know Andrade is a name on the Titantron, and then somebody says there's Andrada or Andra, whatever the fuck. Don't advertise or announce that girl. Because the announcers said it once and then started plugging the Hall of Fame while this guy's coming out. But then here more music hits, and here comes Rey Mysterio and knocks Andrade down in the aisleway and hits the ring. Apparently, it was not made clear, but now I'm beginning to understand that R-Truth was going to put the open challenge out for his U.S. title, but they started dancing, and I got distracted from that. But now these people, Rey Mysterio and Andrade, are both trying to answer this challenge, and R-Truth got there first, but then R-Truth tries to calm them both down, and he doesn't know which one to pick. And he asks, what would John Cena do? I don't understand what the fuck is going on here. His girl says Cena would take them both on. And then R-Truth has the best line of the night. Well, he's a pretty bad man or something like that then. And everybody popped and laughed. If this guy is a heel, he's the most funny and entertaining fucking guy in the ring. Nobody else has said anything. The other two are mute. And then a triple threat match breaks out. And they all start doing shit to each other. Fuck. So then, in Seg 5, they come back and there's a lot of car wreck moves amongst all these guys. I know Rey Mysterio's a babyface, obviously, but the other two, I assume, are both heels in their own way. They do a lot of nice moves. And then R-Truth rolls up Rey Mysterio after Rey does his cool 619 move on the other guy. And the people pop. So did they just cheer R-Truth because he beat Rey Mysterio? What the fuck? And then Andrade attacks Rey Mysterio, but Rey runs him off by himself. We're 50 minutes in. We get the first announcer on camera, but they got no lower third, so I still don't know their names unless they accidentally refer to each other in some of their scripted repartee by their first names. And we go to the break.
They are awful. Let me jump in there because I tried to watch along a little bit because I knew you were going to watch it. The commentators make it impossible to enjoy or watch that program. It's not just the WWE speak. It's not just saying the scripted stuff. It's just one after another. That one guy, Byron Saxton, is one of the worst commentators in the history of wrestling. And that's saying something in a company with Michael Cole and the rest of these idiots. And they're all just so fake. Like, the fakest thing in wrestling isn't even the wrestling. It's the commentators and the way they talk to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Seg 6, they recap the contract signing at the top of the program that we went over. And then here comes Charlotte. She looks fucking great. Here is a star. She's not dressed like a bum. She's not wearing a ball gown, but she looks like somebody. And she walks out there like she's somebody. And they've played the video, the VTR of Becky on Raw being arrested and hauled out in Atlanta and etc. And Charlotte does the promo. She had a lot of verbiage and a long story to tell, and she told it. She did a great job. She kept your attention. Her facial expressions worked. She was looking at that hard camera, but she didn't know whether they had a close-up on her or whatever the fuck, but they got close on her, and she had eye contact with that camera, and you believed that she believed what she was fucking saying. She had some attitude and some fucking delivery, and she sounds like the person that she appears to be and presents herself to be. 4 stars, 5 stars, right?
She has presence.
She has presence. And not just under her tree on Christmas.
That's right.
So it's like a tale of two shows here. You get these poor guys that have just been thrown into this thing and they're not being helped in any way. And it sounds like a bunch of hokey horseshit. And then you get somebody that knows what they're doing and can pull it off. And it's network quality. And then here, Aleister Black. And here, let me tell you about this. Aleister Black entrance and the cool music and the lighting effect. And then he comes up on they raise him on that deal like Hannibal Lecter on the fucking board, right? The backboard. Now that I'm saying this, everybody go back and next time he comes off of it or watch this one, maybe he'll hear me and he'll change it. This is where they ought to. He's on that board and he's being lifted up, and that's cool. That's some cool shit. I like that, right? But as soon as the board stops, he immediately comes off of it and takes a step or two forward and looks down and assumes a pose. And that fucking sucks. Can you visualize if he came up on that fucking board and right as he gets to the top of it and it stops, he's got his eyes closed, but as it stops, he opens his eyes and they do the quick fucking zoom with the floor camera where you just go into his face. That would announce to me that this motherfucker's weird and he's here. And then he gets off the fucking board and comes down. Anyway, then here comes Ricochet's entrance. And he's happy to be there, as we heard last week when they almost had tears in his eyes where he sobbed about how happy he was to get this chance. These two guys, why are they partners? They look nothing alike. They have no common thread in their appearance or in what appears to be their personality. That they just have thrown these two guys together. And as they get in the ring, we go to a Black History Month package. Not that there's anything bad about Black History Month, but it's at least it's taken me away from asking these questions like, why are these fucking guys partners? Anyway.
Hey, Ricochet being on the show the last couple of weeks, I think that's the most times Paducah, Kentucky has ever been mentioned on WWE broadcasting.
Yeah, since the Duke of Paducah quit appearing at the Grand Ole Opry in the 60s, that is the most times Paducah, Kentucky has ever been mentioned, period. In segment 7, we come back. Nakamura and Rusev are already in the ring, so they're the fucking job guys, right?
Nakamura wearing Kane's pajamas, seemingly.
Well, he looked like a Japanese Elvis impersonator. But it was they did. I'll spoil it for you. They did fulfill the fucking premise that guys who show up in the ring without music are job guys, because they did the job, but. The very first thing that Ricochet did, and I'm going to eat this guy up here, and then I'm going to tell you how he could have been a star. The very first thing that he did after Aleister Black started with Nakamura, and they did some stuff where they were kind of equal, was that Ricochet tags in by slapping Aleister Black's back, slapping his shoulder blade. Once again, as I mentioned last week, the tag team guys don't even know how to fucking tag. And the referee allows it, and they just go on. And as soon as Ricochet gets the ring, the fucking heels cut him off and beat him up. How is it getting this guy over? And the girl, now I know the girl at ringside is with Rusev, and she's Lana. See, now she's been identified by some of the commentators that I don't know their names. And she stands there and poses and points and looks like she's a lost ball in high weeds and trying to figure out how to find her way home. Then Aleister Black hits a tag and makes a comeback, and then they cut him off. Because since they got to get 2 segments, might as well have 2 sets of heat instead of just beating the piss out of one guy for a long, long period of time. They'll just beat the piss out of both guys for a shorter period of time and ruin both their fucking, well, they're not debuts, but then they go to the break and they got the match in the box again. And they beat up Aleister Black and held him down through the whole, so you could actually see the new star being held down, beaten up, and emasculated by 2 guys that didn't even get a music entrance through the whole break. Then they get a long heat on Aleister Black, and he then gives the coldest tag ever, an iceberg tag where fucking Ricochet's hand fell off from frostbite, where Rusev had bumped himself and Aleister Black, where Aleister Black was right in front of fucking Ricochet, right in front of his corner. He just reaches up and milks it for a minute, and nobody's trying to stop him, and he fucking tags. People go, Ricochet makes comeback, and the announcers try too hard to talk about how he's going to blow everybody's mind. I'm about ready to blow my mind out. Rusev cuts his comeback off flat and stopped the whole match momentum down to a screeching halt so that then Ricochet could escape a double team attempt and tag and dive on Rusev out on the floor so that Aleister Black could hit that wicked kick of his 1, 2, 3 and beat fucking
Nakamura.
What's his name? There you go. Shinsuke. Fucking hell. Should I do this now and break up my review, or should I tell you what we should do with Ricochet now, or wait till the end of the show? Well, I'll wait till the end of the show, because then it'll be a good way to go out on the end.
I do have to ask you something, too, before you get to Ricochet. I'll just tell you.
Yes. What?
Did you see that video of the guy, I don't even know who the hell he is, sitting there and blasting the crowd from Raw last week for not being with it?
Oh, yeah, somebody tweeted that, and I tweeted it back that, yeah, this fucking guy, they shit to bed, presented a bad live event where people had to watch TV on screen and pay for the enjoyment of it, and they had some fucking, I guess, stooge that works for their fucking website or whatever. But then I heard he was apparently he's some type of celebrity. I don't know, or a former athlete or something. Do you know who this is?
No, I don't know either. I have no idea who he is.
But they blamed the crowd. And they made a video mocking the crowd with crickets over it and everything. Hey, if I ever had people at my show sitting on my ass like that, I certainly did not run the tape later on and brag about it. But anyway, here's the thing. We go out of this tag match where it was what it was. And once again, Aleister Black has something too, but he looks like a nerd. Well, he doesn't look like it. He looks like some kind of fucking freak, right? And he's supposedly a anti-fucking normal kind of guy. But he's teaming up with Ricochet, who they're portraying as a fucking nerd from Paducah who's living his dream out by getting the opportunity to do Cirque du Soleil fucking spots on my wrestling program. More on him later. And Black, they could definitely do something also, but instead of concentrating on him, he's in this group now. They go to an unidentified girl in the back interviewer with AJ Styles, and the girl had stagey verbiage and a bland question. AJ had bland content. Do you notice a theme here, Brian, running through this?
Oh yeah.
Bland.
And I hate too when they do that. Like they have a close up of the girl and she'll go, I now want to welcome AJ Styles. And then the camera shifts to him who, walks in from 2 feet away, wherever he was.
Yeah.
And they just hold it on him and he doesn't do anything for a second. It's every single guy they interview. It's like this momentary awkward pause before the scripted promo has to begin.
Yeah, and then it was blah, and he's trying to, he spoke it well, but it was fake verbiage, but he never looked at the camera. He had shifty eyes. There's a camera 2 feet in front of his face, and he's rolling his eyes to look over the camera and to look back at her and to look down on the ground, and he never acknowledged there's a camera sticking in his fucking face. And then suddenly, I can't remember what he said, but he said something about it's the house I built or whatever. And then suddenly Randy Orton is next to him. And Randy Orton does the same thing, but for a briefer period of time. Doesn't look at the camera, says, "Oh, really?" And then walks off. And then the girl enters, Lacey, and stands there and they all look at each other. Fucking hell. Anyway. We're into segment 9 already. The announcers are on camera again. We still don't get a lower third. They did a package about Roman from Raw and Good Morning America, and that obviously was good, and it made him look like a star. He's on network TV. He's overcome odds, blah, blah, blah. Nothing wrong with that. Here comes a New Day entrance. Well, just enough for Kofi. They bring Kofi out. And then they go to a package on the Flair birthday in Raw. So basically Kofi is put in a position of, while this stooge that we've just shit on earlier is on his way to the ring, we'll just go to another package. And then they go to the break. When we come back, it's a tag match. They're all in the ring. Daniel Bryan, the world champion, didn't even get a goddamn entrance. And his partner Rowan against Kofi and Owens, because Steen had asked for the match earlier that night. He thought they should have that match. Here, idle note, they never mention the referees' names or identify them in any way.
The not referees even, are like the cameras backstage. They're invisible.
Well, it's just ridiculous. It's like they won't even, I don't even think they say the referee, much less the guy's name. But, imagine if you won an entire UFC match without mentioning the referee doing anything or his name or anything. Anyway, they have a standard tag match where Kofi and Owens are awkward partners, and Owens actually does a dive to the break to kind of rub it in Kofi's face. In Seg 11, heat on Kofi. The announcers blathered on. KO was fairly buried on the apron. Daniel Bryan does a big superplex off the top rope, which I don't know why that was necessary for him to do, but it looked great. Kevin Owens makes comeback, and the fans wake up a little bit, and he actually hits a missile drop kick. And then he got a great near fall on Daniel Bryan with a power bomb. So when Owens and Daniel Bryan get it, they woke him up, which is what they figured they would. They got a big pop, and then suddenly Rowan tosses Owens over the announce table, and then he and Kofi get wiped out so that Owens can get Daniel Bryan somehow or another. But anyway, hit him with a fucking Stone Cold Stunner. Boom, 1, 2, 3, and the people blew. Good finish. There was a good last few minutes. If I could have seen about the last 4 minutes of that match and Charlotte and maybe something else. I can't remember. That would have been a good show. But I still don't understand whether Owens is a babyface or a heel or what the fuck, but that's not exactly unusual on this program. But just, I don't see a focus on anything. Oh, and then the Hardys was good. The Hardys was good because the people took them as stars, and it was a nice, cold match for television.
There are no baby faces. There are no heels. Only disappointed wrestlers looking for their releases.
Well, and you have covered that point. Actually, you've made that point abundantly clear. But okay, I said I would tell you last week. I said Leo Rush. Right, here's how you could have presented this guy. Once again, I've been on the creative teams and et cetera, and I book my own stuff, and I know it's not as easy as just coming up with ideas, and there's a lot of moving parts in play, and then, Vince might think you don't get it. But just watching the show and spending about 20 minutes in my fucking couch, I thought about Ricochet and what are his strengths? He's an amazing athlete, incredible balance. People can't do that, especially in wrestling rings, some of the stuff that he does, and not injure yourself or somebody else. He's a great athlete and looks the part. But what are his weaknesses? He's small, but we can hide that because he's a flyer. What are his other weaknesses? Apparently, he can't do a strong promo, or elsewise they just haven't given him anything to talk about because he's out there sobbing and sniveling about how it's his dream to be there and how happy he is. So maybe let's figure out a way where he might not have to talk at first. And lastly, if you want somebody to make a fucking impact, for God's sake, don't just throw him out there cold with other. And the first we saw of him was he was being matched move for move and balance for balance and landing on your feet for landing on your feet in a Cirque du Soleil routine with the fucking Leo Rush, the little midget manager character. Now we've seen him in this match, and he's got the shit kicked out of him by two guys that apparently they ain't using very well, or elsewise they wouldn't have been in the spot they were in on this show. What about? I started thinking about this. There's Rey Mysterio was just thrown out there in that one match as an afterthought. What if you had a big fucking nasty heel? And I came up with Kevin Owens. And I know he's in the world title picture, but it's not like they're going to do any of this shit for real anyway, right? This is mental masturbation, as Vince used to say. Let's say that they wanted to introduce Ricochet. And they had that Kevin Owens booked for a match. And he's a heel, by the way, Kevin Owens, in my universe, because he is such a smart ass. And he's fucking quick. They have Kevin Owens booked with Rey Mysterio. And beforehand, in the backstage area, they have an interviewer ask Kevin Owens what he thinks about Rey Mysterio. And that fucking Owens says, let me tell you something about Rey Mysterio. He likes to say that he wears that mask because of pride, because of his family and lucha in Mexico and his father, the great Rey Mysterio, the original one. And a lot of people don't remember he was named Rey Mysterio Jr. at one time. Well, he was, but they put a stop to that. His family did, for the same reason why he's wearing a mask, not because he's paying any tribute to his family, but because his family was ashamed and embarrassed of him. They didn't want him to be in, because look, he's the runt of the litter. He's a little half pint. His growth was stunted, probably because Rey Mysterio Sr. didn't even believe that he was really his. He would have fathered a full-size man. He probably accused Rey Mysterio Jr.'s mother of messing around with he wouldn't say milkman, maybe he's the tequila man. And I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish like Rey Mysterio does. I just speak French, the distinguished languages. But this little fucking pipsqueak, basically, I'm going to embarrass him and his whole family. Fuck him. Fuck anybody that looks like him, right? Just have Steen just unload on this fucking guy. And especially, I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that his old man was nothing but a drunk that died broke and penniless in the gutter. About that time here, that fucking Rey Mysterio flies into the fucking frame and starts walking the dog on fucking Kevin Steen, just beating the shit. And that announcer flies out of the way, and goddamn, Steen takes off running, and he's running, and he goes to the entrance. And now what the fuck? And there's goddamn people running after Rey Mysterio, who's chasing Kevin Steen, and they run out into the building. It's supposed to be the main event of the show that night, but it's an hour early. Well, fuck it. We're getting it anyway. We're getting it right now. Steen runs down the ramp, and Mysterio's on his fucking back, beating the piss out of him. Here's the referees running, and when they roll in the ring, Mysterio just starts up with a fucking match, and the referee rings for the bell, and the other ones just say, okay, and we're already into it. And there's no reason to we're not selling time here. We're selling action. Mysterio's all over him and fucking bumps him around 3 or 4 times. And then all of a sudden, Steen cuts that little prick off, right flat, boom, and hurts him bad. Boom! And starts kicking the shit out of him. And Mysterio sells long enough for the people to get behind him and starts Mysterio or Ray or whatever the fuck they chant these days. And he fires back up a little bit, but Steen shuts him down again. And Steen looks like he's going to put him away with a big fucking moonsault or whatever Steen does these days. And Mysterio moves out of the way. Steen splatters and Mysterio fucking hooks him, puts him down 1, 2, fucking 3. Holy shit. Rey Mysterio pops up and rolls over. He's laying there selling, but he's got his hand in the air. Steen pops up like, what the fuck? Steen goes out. Grabs a fucking chair, folds the chair up, brings it in. The referee comes at him. He fucking wipes the referee out with the fucking chair. Mysterio's trying to struggle to his feet. He whacks him across the fucking back. He sticks the leg in the chair, and he's going to Pillman the fucking leg in the chair. Mysterio's had knee surgeries. The announcers are pointing this out. Steen jumps up real quick to the fucking second buckle as agents and referees are coming trying to stop him. He jumps off and lands with a big knee drop on that goddamn chair with the leg in the chair, and Mysterio's fucking screaming. And now they're trying to get up on the fucking apron of the ring, but Steen pops up and he knocks one off and he knocks the other one off. And he knocks a third one off, and he grabs that chair off the leg and he swings it at fucking people. And then he grabs fucking Mysterio because Mysterio's holding his fucking leg, screaming in pain. And he takes both of his hands and he grabs the back of that mask and he rips the fucking laces and he fucking pulls that mask off and unveils fucking Rey Mysterio's face to the world in the first time ever in the WWF. And stands there holding that fucking mask like a goddamn head, like the Conan the Barbarian fucking painting from Frank Frazetta, holding the fucking mask like he's beheaded him, with Rey Mysterio rolling in pain and the referees and agents grabbing him, trying to pull him away. And then you announce later on that Rey Mysterio is going back to Mexico to have surgery because he has goddamn once again been incapacitated, his bad leg injured by Kevin Owens, who shows no remorse. Hey, Ray, when you get back home to your family, if you can find your drunken daddy in the fucking, gutter in Guadalajara somewhere selling fucking lucha mask 3 for a fucking $1, tell him I said hello. You'll be on one of those little cripple fucking carts joining him since you got no leg now, you fucking asshole. And then what if then the next couple of weeks, Steen's being a bully and he's talking bad about Rey Mysterio's gone and had surgery. And you even can show, obviously, you could show stuff about Rey's past knee problems. They probably got it in the library. But then after a couple of weeks, you get a video that pops up on the screen when Steen is around, or maybe even not, just a video from Rey Mysterio. Here's Rey Mysterio in the streets of some slum somewhere in Mexico. We don't know where. On crutches, with his leg immobilized, his mask on. But he's walking down this fucking alleyway and he turns into this dingy building, and there it's a lucha gym. And it's the old dingy lucha gym with a ring with the real shaggy ropes and fucking bloodstains on the mat. And it's dimly lit with these fucking broken windows with sun shining through and just a few scattered chairs. And it's a small place, maybe a couple of heavy bags. And the lighting is such that you can see the seediness and the dirt. And as Rey Mysterio walks in on the crutches, you see a group of guys from behind. Some of them are bald. Some of them got mohawks. Some of them got hair. They've all got tattoos. You see their arms and the sleeves. You see that some of them have chains coming off of their fucking belts, and they've got the fucking bandanas, and they've got boots, and they're not savory individuals. But they're all members of the lucha fraternity in that gym. And when Rey Mysterio walks up to address them, you see him in the back of their heads, but you see it lit maybe by a torch or a candle or something, a picture of the original Rey Mysterio Sr. behind Rey Mysterio as he talks about how that Kevin Owens, has not only disrespected his family, disrespected his father, the name of Rey Mysterio that was hallowed by the fans of Lucha Libre, that he has become an icon here in Mexico, but also that he has disrespected Lucha Libre. He took my mask. He beheaded me. He disrespected all of us. And now I have failed. I've failed. I've let my family down, my familia, my father, my family. I've let them down. I cannot keep the fight going. I cannot fight Kevin Owens, but one of you can be chosen. The man with the spirit and the heart, the courage, the bravery, the warrior among you can be chosen to be my blood brother, to be my familia, to represent Lucha Libre, to represent the Mysterio family, to represent us and our people against Kevin Owens. Who will be chosen? Blah, 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 blah. And they're, hey, we all want to do it, right? We all want to do it. And he looks and you see Rey Mysterio's eyes fall on one person, you. You see the back of the guy's head. It will be you. And they take, and you can't Joe LaDuke yourself with the fucking axe on goddamn network television, but each one of them, for the in people, they'd get it, and for other people, they just never see it. But they've each one got a blade, right, in their hand. And they do the camera close-ups. They blade the fucking palm of their hand each, and they do the fucking handshake, and they become blood brothers. You never see this guy's face, but all of a sudden, Mysterio, he reaches down and he pulls up a mask, however the fuck they want to make it, with a red R on the top with blood dripping. And that's what you go off on. And in the next week or whenever the fuck, you get Steen in the ring because he's been sent a present from Mexico, courtesy of Rey Mysterio. And there's a box there. But no, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a fucking human-sized box. It's a goddamn box about a foot square. And he reaches in and he pulls out the fucking mask. He did something like this in Ring of Honor with Generico. That was their idea. You can always take an idea from somebody and fucking make it fit the situation. He pulls up and holds this mask up and looks at it and is shocked. And then the lights go out. And then the fucking Rey Mysterio video pops up on the screen. And then he says, Kevin Owens, this is the man who will restore the honor of my people, my blood brother Ricochet. And then the music. And here comes this fucking guy. He comes down the aisle. He does a springboard off the top rope into the fucking ring and levels fucking Steen, takes a big bump, hits him with 2 or 3 more goddamn things because you don't want a guy that can match this guy move for move so he can get all his shit in. You want a big, nasty heel that can base for him and can work the flavor and take the bumps, but let him be the fucking high-flying star of the show, and the other guy's a completely different type of person that's taking these bumps that are well-deserved. And he bumps Steen about 3 or 4 fucking times with these big moves and then gets that motherfucker and gets on him and either is just beating the shit out of him until people hit the ring and pull him off like a rabid animal, or maybe he even grabs takes Steen's T-shirt off and wraps it around his fucking neck and throws him over the top rope and is hanging that motherfucker from the top rope. He has come here to get retribution for Rey Mysterio, for his family, and for the entire family of luchadors and the Mexican people without even saying it. And he's hanging this motherfucker. He's going to choke him to goddamn death. They pull him off of him like a wild fucking maniac, and Steen escapes with a fucking inch of his fucking life. And that's your fucking pay-per-view match. Kevin Owens against the blood brother of Rey Mysterio, Ricochet. And that's the way you fucking introduce some motherfucker.
That's pretty good.
Just off the top of my head in a morning while I was doing other shit. And I don't drink coffee.
Probably be better if you could focus and put a little more attention into it. But no, seriously, that's really
well. I
good.
know there's a lot of details in that you would have to work out from week to week, and you'd have to bring and you'd do the notes and make sure that you advanced everything properly. But why not? He looks. like a kid, Ricochet, and acts like a kid because of the way they're presenting him. You make this, he's can do amazing shit. He can blow your mind. So put him in a position to do that and make him important and make him somebody that you eliminate the size issue when you not only see what he can do, but also explain it. But this guy is a badass from somewhere in the horrible ghettos of Mexico. And, maybe he's not MS-13. He'd be a heel then, but he's lived a hard life. And, like the Mexican version of the Snake Pit in Wigan, where everybody wanted to fucking be the one to uphold because Rey Mysterio is their hero. He left them and went and made a fucking worldwide name for himself in Lucha Libre, and then comes back and is still their champion and their guy, right? So he gets taken out by this fucking heel. They all want a fucking shot at it because they all want to prove themselves. This is his handpicked guy. He's the best of everybody. That way you make the guy sound like he's important. Not just, oh God, I'm so glad to be here. They don't have anything like this in Paducah. Fuck.
When he was in Lucha Underground, they put him under a mask as Prince Puma.
Well, okay, I don't know that much about Pumas, but it couldn't have been. Was he glad he was there too?
He didn't
Did
say
he do
much.
Promos?
No, he didn't really say
go.
much. Yeah.
You know what? That might be the best thing also, because what can he say at this point that could back up this story and make it better? If he was the silent guy, and later on, yeah, obviously you can bring it out, et cetera, but if you don't hear from this guy, and you could make it where, he's kind of fucking, he's shady, he comes in from the crowd, he appears, you don't know what the fuck's going on.
I just want to say one other thing, because I know some listeners will tweet it at us. But obviously anything can happen in the WWE. That's how this story would be able to work. But of course, Rey Mysterio Sr. was actually his uncle, not his father.
Okay, then his fucking uncle. Sorry about that, Chief. It's his uncle. And I knew that back in days gone by, but I'd forget. His point is, it's his family. You can say your whole family was embarrassed of you, you little runt. That's why you put that mask on, because you weren't full grown. And just belittle him and bully him like you should if you're a bully. So that then, and then fucking hurt him and get people mad at you because you don't care that you hurt him. And then have him find somebody that's determined and driven and dedicated and has the courage and the bravery to fight his fight for him and expose that guy on a fucking big national stage as having his shit together and fucking coming for a reason, for some retribution for his blood brother, etc. Instead of just, all these guys want to come out here and have their chance to blow your minds.
They said that over and over, and even in the video package, prepare to have your mind blown.
Yes, and then he followed it up and said it again live, and it's like, wait, that's. But I mean, once again, you can do a variety of things. Doesn't have to be that, but I would think that I always tried to figure out the best possible way that I can use this particular piece of talent. And if it don't work out, then at least I got a good underneath guy. I don't have to give him promos or give him any wins, but he can have a good match. But if it does work out, maybe we've got something. But when you just fucking throw people out there just to have the opportunity to impress people when they've seen everything, they've seen every wrestling fan has seen everything in the world. They've seen every bump. They've seen every move. They've seen people beheaded and set on fire and goddamn in the WWF run over by fucking semi trucks and whatever the fuck. You have to tell them why they should care or worry about or in some way recognize an individual first before you just start beating him up in front of them. Because then who gives a shit? I don't know who this fucking guy is. Why? Well, his problem, not mine. But since, a guy like Rey Mysterio, for example, has been a top star for quite a while, and he's got a lot of fans, people like him. So if somebody's kind of fucked with him, then I'm kind of already I don't like this fucking guy. And then if you take it that far, and it just gives people some connection to somebody instead of, I hate to say it, but when Jim Herd said, what did I do, just drop him in out of a helicopter? They've just dropped these fucking guys in out of a helicopter. I don't know who is on whose side and who's mad at who and why. And it doesn't seem to be consistent from one program to the next.
And nothing is ever explained.
Yeah, they do a lot of great packages and still don't explain anything. But, you know, and the last thing I'm going to say for today, and don't worry, we're going to do something completely different, because next week, by the time you hear this, I'm going to have done something that you will hear about. And, or actually, no, when you hear this, I will have not done yet what I'm going to do, and you're going to hear about it later, but by next week, we'll be able to talk about it because you'll have heard about it. Right. But I'll say this, and then we'll go. It doesn't look to me like a presentation of a sporting event. In a UFC show, we still get the matches and we still get interviews, but I feel like that it's a television sport. It's being presented as a sporting event. This is just a bunch of shit happening at odd times for sometimes no reason, and it's just all fucking choreographed. And so therefore no real importance is given to most anything. And every once in a while, you find somebody that's a good enough performer to transcend that, but not often. So that, I think that's the two problems. Nobody's even running this fucking show. Goddamn, there's no announcer in charge of this fucking show like Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were Raw, just to be able to tell you what the fuck's going on. But I get, when I watch a UFC broadcast, I get the idea that they're in a major arena having fights, and I still get promos and I still get matches, but I get the idea that it's a professional television broadcast and they know where they're going. And, you know, I don't with this. They're not. And I thought that Fox, part of the deal, the TV deal, was that they were going to consider it like one of their sporting events and broadcast it live and this and that and the other thing. It's like a goddamn vaudeville show with commercials.
NXT does a much, much better job of everything you just said there at the end about presenting it like a sporting event. The live event is a serious thing. When they do those takeover events, it's really, really great. They do a great job. It's just whatever Vince is actually overseeing, they're incapable of applying any of those things to. Or he is, I should say. He's incapable of applying it.
Well, but at least now that Bruce is there, Bruce can tell him how to get it. Because Bruce can tell him what it is. And in the meantime, we're going to be jacking it. Jacking it. We can't play that anymore or they'll copyright us. That's right. All right, we are done for today. We'll be back next week with more good stuff. By the way, yes, Michael Cohen, we just started recording today, and Michael Cohen started spilling his guts and telling us everything that we all already knew about that narcissistic, criminal, shysterish fucking fraud of a buffoon in the White House. But next week, we're going to talk about everything that Michael had to say, as well as the things that I have done that I haven't done yet, but I will have done by the time that we see you again and you will have heard about. And otherwise than that, until we meet again, thank you, fuck you, Smackdown, and bye-bye, everybody.